So you're in a calorie deficit, but the scale just isn't moving. It's frustrating, right? You're training hard, eating less, doing everything right, but you're just not seeing the results you want. But here's the truth that most people won't tell you. Sometimes being in a calorie deficit isn't enough. So in this video, I'm going to break down for you exactly why the scale might not be moving even though you're in a calorie deficit, and more importantly, I'm going to tell you how to solve that. So let's get straight into it. But before I tell you the reasons it may not be moving, let me make something very clear for you. Just because the scale isn't going down, it isn't always representative of the amount of fat you're losing. It's really important to remember that the scale is just a tool. It gives you great data, but it isn't always telling the full story. The number that you see can fluctuate day to day for 100 different reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with the amount of fat that you're losing. So let me give you a few examples. Firstly, water retention plays a massive role. Let's say you had a load of carbs yesterday, or maybe you've been having more sodium lately. That causes your body to hold on to more water, which can make the scale jump up even if you're losing fat. The same can be said for minor inflammation. If you've been smashing it at the gym, your muscles can hold on to more water whilst they recover, which again makes the number stay the same. And small things like whether or not you've been to the toilet before you weighed yourself or not can also skew the number. The reality is, if the scale hasn't moved for a few days or even a week, it doesn't always mean that you're not losing weight or fat. But importantly, if the scale doesn't move for 2 weeks or more, you may not be in a true calorie deficit. So you need to take a step back and look and see why that is. So let me explain to you the 4 main reasons people don't lose weight even when they're in a calorie deficit. The first and most common reason people don't lose weight whilst in a calorie deficit is, well, because you're not in a calorie deficit. Most people are absolutely terrible at knowing how much they eat. There are hidden calories everywhere, from oils to dressings to the splash of milk in your coffee and that handful of nuts after lunch. It can add up very quickly. For example, are you weighing your food raw or cooked? 100 grams of raw chicken breast and 100 grams of cooked chicken breast are 2 entirely different things that contain entirely different amounts of calories. If you're going off of cooked weights, you're likely completely underestimating the amount of calories that you're consuming. Then there's the hidden stuff. Drinks like smoothies, protein shakes, and coffees can pack way more calories than you realize, especially if you're adding extras like syrups, honey, and full-fat milk. Every calorie counts when it comes to fat loss, but so many go untracked. If you've had more than 2 weeks where you haven't lost weight, this is what you need to do. You need to take a step back. You need to track every single thing you consume, and I can almost guarantee you'll be consuming 200 to 400 calories more than you thought you were, and that's the difference between losing weight and not losing weight. The second reason you may not be losing weight whilst in a calorie deficit is because you've been in a calorie deficit for too long, or you've been in too much of a calorie deficit, which can cause your body's metabolism to slow down, meaning you're burning fewer calories at both a resting and an active state. This is actually a lot more common than you think. So many people start off their diets with 1,000 calorie deficits or more because they think to themselves, okay, if I do that, I'm gonna lose weight faster. And yes, whilst that is true, if you do it for too long, you completely crash your metabolism, which makes it harder and harder for you to lose fat later down the line. Not only will it affect your metabolism, but it can also cause your hormone levels to fluctuate. Your ghrelin will spike and your leptin will crash, making you hungry constantly as your body desperately tries to hold on to fat stores. So whilst the idea of a large deficit sounds good in theory, it's not sustainable or practical for long-term weight loss. On to reason number 3, and I see this a lot with my clients, and it's body recomposition. If you are following a proper fat loss plan where you are training hard, eating in a deficit, and keeping your protein high, you will likely be building muscle whilst you lose fat. This is especially common if you have never trained before or you're coming back to it after a break. Body composition can cause the scale to stall, but your body will still change visually. Your clothes will start to fit better, your waistline tightens, and you will start seeing definition in your muscles and changes in your face. Muscle is a lot denser than fat, so it can often offset the number that you see on the scale. That's why it's so important to not obsess over the number you see and focus more on how you look and how you feel and what other people say about you. Those are more important metrics than an arbitrary number. So if the scale hasn't moved for a couple of weeks, but you're noticing visual changes and you're getting positive comments from other people, that is still progress. The fourth and final reason that many people overlook is your hormone levels. There are countless factors that affect your hormone levels, but we're going to focus on 2. Sleep and stress. We live in a world today where most people are stressed out all of the time, and that stress causes your cortisol levels to rise. Cortisol is important, But when levels are too high, it encourages your body to store fat and store it in the worst possible places, the belly and the love handles. Poor sleep is arguably even worse. Sleep is where our bodies produce most of our hormones. So if you aren't getting enough, your levels are going to be all over the place, which is going to cause you to feel tired, hungry, and just like you can't be arsed. It also has a massive impact on how well you recover and can also decrease your metabolism if you're not getting enough sleep. So if the scale isn't moving but everything else seems right, take a look at your lifestyle. Are you stressed out all the time? Are you getting enough sleep? Because that is just as important as every other factor. So now you know the 4 main reasons people don't lose weight whilst in a calorie deficit. Let's solve them. First things first, you need to take it back to basics and track every single thing you put in your mouth for a week straight. I'm talking about weigh everything before it is cooked, and also track oils, drinks, condiments, and anything else you consume. Most people I get to do this are shocked and realize they were consuming hundreds of extra calories a day without even realizing. Let's say your deficit is 2,300 calories a day, but after a week of tracking you realize you're consuming on average 2,750 a day. There you go. That's why you're not losing weight. And although it may seem tedious tracking everything you consume, it's absolutely essential if you want to make progress. Once you have that data, you can make the necessary adjustments, whether that's adjusting your calorie intake down or increasing your cardio or steps. But if you do that and the scale still doesn't move, you may need to consider a diet break. If you've been in a calorie deficit for 12 or more weeks, there's a very real possibility you've slowed down your metabolic rate. To fix this, you should eat at maintenance calories for 1 to 2 weeks to help reset your metabolism. During this break, introduce these added calories in the form of nutrient-dense whole foods. This isn't a license to binge on shitty food. You are just going to give your body the break that it needs. You could also try refeed days where you eat in a calorie surplus for a couple of days with a high carb intake. This can refill your glycogen stores and boost your leptin, which is going to increase your energy levels and potentially fix your metabolic crash. If you try either of these, make sure you stick to everything else. That means weight training, high protein intake, and getting your cardio and steps in. Thirdly, and yes, I know this is easier said than done, but you need to find ways to sleep more and decrease your stress. Look, everyone goes through high periods of stress. It's inevitable and unavoidable in today's world, but there are ways for you to decrease your stress levels and lessen its impact on your body and your weight loss. A few things that I like to do when I'm overstressed is 1, get outside and go for long walks. Not only does this de-stress me, but it also burns calories, so it's a win-win. I also find time for my hobbies, even if it's just 30 minutes a day. It takes you away from the stresses of life and gives you that much needed mental rest. You could also try different forms of meditation or breath work. Personally, I struggle with these, but I know for some people they work well. When it comes to sleep, you have to make sure you are getting at least 7 hours of sleep. Not 7 hours in bed a day, 7 hours of sleep a day. If you're not getting enough sleep, it's going to make your weight loss 10 times harder. It's going to destroy your hormone levels, destroy your energy levels, and just ruin your life. So set a sleep time and a wake time and do it every single day, even on the weekends. Something that I also did not so long ago was cut caffeine at 2 p.m, so 8 hours before I go to sleep, and that helped me massively. Sleep is where your body burns fat, repairs muscles, and resets your hormone levels, so make sure you are getting enough quality sleep. Now, assuming you do all of that, but the scale still isn't moving for 2 or more weeks, it's time to zoom out. As we discussed earlier, sometimes you are not going to see the scale go down because you're either building muscle, retaining water, or many other factors. So it's very important to look at the bigger picture. Assess your progress over 4 to 8 weeks, not 4 to 8 days. Look at visual changes. Take progress pictures every single week. Do you look leaner? Does your jaw look sharper? Does your waist look tighter? And how do you feel? Those are the important metrics, not some arbitrary fucking number on a scale. So look, if you are in a calorie deficit but the scale isn't moving, no, it doesn't mean you are the only human on earth that defies thermodynamics. You just need to take a step back and maybe tweak a few things. If you want some help with your fat loss, click the link in the description, book a call with me. We can have a chat and see if we're the right fit to work together, to work one-on-one and get you in the best shape of your life, and more importantly, stay there for life. Other than that, if you enjoyed this video or it helped, leave a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.